Oh, right. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today, Dr. Kate Bennett. She is the founder and director of Athlete Insight and of Full Send Consulting. She is someone who truly understands athletes from the inside out. Dr. Bennett began her career at Indiana University, earning a BS in kinesiology and athletic training before following a calling to support athletes on the psychological side of sport. Influenced by my mentor, we share a mentor in the late Greg Harden, which makes my heart so happy. She went on to earn her UDM in counseling and sports psychology from Boston University. Before stepping fully into the clinical work, Dr. Bennett lived the athlete coach experience firsthand. She worked with Carmichael Training Systems as a cycling coach while also racing herself, coaching state and national champions, earning 2 national championships along the way. Over time, her focus expanded beyond her performance alone, driven by a desire to help the whole person. We share this in common. She returned to graduate school to specialize in the treatment of athletes and eating disorders at the University of the Rockies, completing clinical training at the University of Colorado Springs Counseling Center, a predoctoral internship at Western Washington University, and a postdoctoral fellowship at the Eating Disorder Center of Denver, where she continued as a primary therapist. In collaboration with the Eating Disorder Center of Denver, she helped launch the ELITE program, designed specifically for elite athletes struggling with eating disorders. She is my go-to when it comes to helping athletes who are navigating that space. Dr. Bennett works as an integrative therapist grounded in humanistic approach, incorporating modalities like CBT, DBT, and EMDR. I'm so excited to have her here with you, talking about all things parenting and sport with her background and her experience of sitting on that side as a therapist and consultant. So without further ado, let's get this going. All right, here we go. Until next time.
All right. Kate, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for taking the time and for your flexibility in rescheduling.
A 100%. I'm so happy
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah. So let's kick it off with you sharing what feels relevant and important for you in terms of your cultural upbringing and background and how that shaped, like Kate, how that shaped how you see the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this question because I think it did shape a lot of how I see the world and who
Yeah.
I am. So I'm one of four. I have three brothers. I'm the only girl. I grew up
Okay.
in a teeny little farm town in Michigan. And within that, my parents never pushed me. And so whatever I wanted was something that I sought out. And
Mm.
so when I think about cultural upbringing, we were a pretty generic little, small town family. We lived far away from my extended family, so it was just the six of us. We were just a little six-person unit.
Yeah.
But within that, having three brothers who all played sports and me being a multi-sport athlete, it really, my parents let me create whatever opportunities I wanted. And being in a small town, I was thinking about this a lot. Not many of our high school students were going on to college to compete. It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't things we were talking about. There
Yeah.
were certainly, I remember there was a girl on my soccer team who went and played soccer in college, and there was a couple swimmers who went to swim in college, but it wasn't the course that our student body really focused on. We
Yeah.
were, I think, just a smaller, I don't know, simple, but like just a small town feel. And so within that, I think it was a lot that when I think about culture, it was a lot of do what makes you happy, and
Mm.
whatever that thing is that makes you happy, that is what you're supported in, and that is what we will help you out in. And especially with my family, I was a straight A student, but not because I had to be. It was because
Mm.
it mattered to me. And I was a multi-sport athlete, not because I was supposed to be, but because I loved sports and I loved movement and I loved being in sports. And so I think that my parents gave me so much space to find myself and gave me
So
so much
beautiful.
freedom to know who I wanted to be, that
Yeah.
I really have arrived and had really incredible adventures in my life, just finding my own way versus having my path set out and being told who I should be and what I should do.
How, like, just a nod to your parents. Like, how beautiful. What a gift. Yeah. Where are you in birth order?
I'm second oldest,
Okay.
but the youngest are twins. So technically, I'm the middle child.
Middle child. I love that. Oh my gosh. I say, yeah, the 2 for 1. Although, right. So I have twins too, and they very much remind me all the time they are their own people. Yeah. Okay. So when you think about that, how has that informed your own parenting? So you have 2 children of your own. When you think about that, how your own upbringing and that massive permission slip, right, to be able to pursue and find what lights you up. How have you pulled that into your own parenting?
100%, we
Yeah.
take the same approach.
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of people ask me, so with my background in cycling, my husband was also a pro cyclist. And so everyone's like, you're a
Okay.
sports
I want to ask you
psychologist
about that.
and your
Totally, totally.
husband's
Yeah.
former pro national team. Like, your kids must be in sports, right? And we're like, oh, they do. We do 6-week rec sports.
Yeah.
And it really is, what are you interested in? And our daughter, I'll probably weave both of my kiddos in throughout
Yeah.
tonight, this conversation. But my daughter, 100%, she's an athlete and she just
Mm.
loves sports. And we have had her in every sport under the sun with the idea of just explore, figure out what you
Yeah.
enjoy, what you want to do. But she is narrowed in and she'll go out. She loves basketball and flag football. So she'll go out and she'll dribble on her own and she'll shoot on her own. And that's her thing. And we've just given her permission to find that. And my son, he doesn't love sports. He does
Mm.
not love sports, but he enjoys flag football. And within our family and our culture and our values, we just always say, like, you need to know how to move your body. I don't
Mm.
care if you're an athlete. I don't care if you're a competitive athlete, but I need to know that you feel comfortable and confident in your body and that you know how to move it and be in it. And so we've just kept him like in movement type activities over the years,
Yeah.
and he has taken a liking to flag football. So like he does 12 weeks of flag football, 6 in the spring, 6 in this fall, and that's it. He is good.
Yeah.
He will. We all mountain bike. We all mountain bike. It's a
Yes.
family value. But I think we really have given both of our kids that same permission just to explore. And I think I'm very fortunate. My husband was raised very similar, of like, figure it out and be who you want to be.
Yeah.
So our kids, they are teaching us every day exactly who they are, and they have no qualms about telling us what they like and don't like.
That is so beautiful. And for those listening, so the ages right up to 8 and 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And this, have you felt pressure at all in terms of, it seems like this container, this beautiful, like spacious container that you and your husband are pulling down right from your own experiences to provide for your kids. Have you felt the outside pressure in terms of particularly your daughter who has this interest in sport to do more?
No.
No. Yeah.
And I think it's probably for two reasons. One, I know all the research. So, like, I have so much research to support our approach that I am good. If people
You're good. Yeah.
ask me, I'm like, you know what? I know the stats on burnout. I know the stats on overuse. I know the value of being a multi-sport athlete. Like, I know all the research. So
Yeah.
nothing makes me insecure in how we're parenting. But also, I think we are very fortunate and blessed that we have an incredible friend group, and
Mm.
we camp 8 to 10 weeks a year. Like, we are out in nature living life. And so
Yeah.
I think where a lot of families get caught up, and it's like a year-round sport and it's a year-round
Mhm.
season, and you're constantly who's doing what and who's where and where are you traveling. We're like out living in the mountains with no electronics and no Wi-Fi, and we're off the
It's
grid. So I think we're
love.
also like a bit immune to it just based on our lifestyle.
And yes, and how you're spending time. Absolutely. So beautiful. So let's like rewind a bit to speak to your
Mm-hmm.
athletic journey and your experience in sport. So what did that look like through the evolution and your success? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I grew up as a multi-sport athlete. So I played
Which ones
soccer,
did
and
you? Yeah.
I
I'm
was going to say
curious.
soccer and softball and tennis and golf and swimming. I did swimming until I had to go past one length of the pool, and I couldn't do no breathers anymore. Then I was done. I retired as a swimmer.
I love it.
But I mean, I did every sport. Pillow polo. Do you remember that? Did you ever play
I
pillow
don't
polo? It was
know.
like a
What's
stick with a giant pillow, and you like hit a little ball around the gym floor. I played
no, but that
pillow
sounds
polo
so
and
fun.
floor
I love
hockey.
croquet, so sounds similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did everything. Pond hockey, right? Growing up in Michigan, I was on
Yeah.
skates all the time.
Yeah.
But what I found, and really where my heart settled in middle school and high school, was actually horseback riding. I had a
Mm.
horse, and I showed my horse across Michigan and kind of down into Ohio and Kentucky. And that's really where my heart was. We rode these crazy horses. They were X-race horses off the track. And so my friends and I, like, we had these hot-headed thoroughbreds that we were riding and showing and training, which great life lessons in adversity. Like, if you want to learn how to fail, ride
Oh
an
my
X-race
goodness.
horse. You will fail a lot.
What say more for us that like we don't like not knowing what that I can only imagine right what that means. Yeah.
Just imagine being like a 12 or 13-year-old on a 2,000-pound horse who has a mind of its own. Like, X-race
Yeah.
horses are hot-headed. They will do what they want. They'll run at fences. They'll refuse fences.
Mm.
And they're the greatest
It's like they're
companions, right? They can be the
good.
sweetest animals on the earth. So you
Yeah.
love them to death.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
mean, going to shows and having your horse refuse fences and, being out in your first class of the day and being done for the weekend,
Oh my gosh.
going to shows and having your horse be awesome, but then go lame. So you can't even ride them. Like just the amount of adversity
Forcing
and
you
out of
to,
control.
yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like the amount that it challenged you to rumble with what you couldn't control. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, or they
Oh
throw a
wow.
shoe. Like it was immense.
Oh wow.
But my heart belongs to the horses, and that's really where I settled was equestrian, and then I played through high school soccer.
Mm,
And as I look back at my high school soccer career, I've learned a lot about, I think, just in reflection coaching and who my high
yeah.
school coach was and how that influenced also my passion for soccer and my burnout by
Yeah.
the end of soccer. Um, and then I went off to college and I went to Indiana. My parents told me if you go to IU, you can take your horse, which amazing. I
Oh,
want to bring
cool.
my horse to
Okay.
college
Yeah.
with me. And they were partial because my older brother went there, but I quickly realized that I was ready to move on from horses. And at IU,
Yeah.
there's this race called the Little 500, which is like it's a little lap race. It's like a relay team race around a
Mhm.
cinder track on bicycles. And I got into cycling, and that's actually where I traded. I always say I traded in four legs for two wheels because they were more reliable. Um, but I started riding bikes and I've never looked back. It really became the rise of riding in the little five. And then I went on to grad school and I rode for club cycling and then
So
moved to
fun.
Colorado and I was coaching and started racing. And my cycling career just flourished as I became an adult and really started to pursue things on my own.
That's so amazing. Did you ride the one in Athens? I'm totally blanking Athens,
I did,
Georgia.
yeah, Athens Twilight.
Yes.
Yes,
No
that's one of my
way.
favorite crits. It's so fun.
So fun. Oh my gosh. So, and also so much respect because it's like, again, you like, yes, more control over the bike and also, but other people, that's where my mind goes when you're riding and cycling. So you continued it. Are you still cycling? Are you still competing?
I still so yes, I still ride, but now I'm purely on mountain bikes. I don't ride the road anymore. I
Okay.
think that they're not as safe. I'm not willing to put my life in the hands of distracted drivers anymore.
Yeah.
But we mountain bike a ton. I did just last year. I actually raced Masters National Gravity downhill mountain biking, and I won. So that was like a little heyday to come back out of retirement and do something big and scary.
Oh my goodness.
And then I raced again this year just because I had a pretty cool jersey that I wanted to be able to wear. So I kept racing a bit this year.
So fun.
And I might do another race next year, but I would say it's very like serious in the way that if I'm going to do something, I prepare. I'm not going to show up
Mm,
anywhere unprepared, but not rigid in that I have to. Like if
yeah.
it sounds fun and it fits that season of life, I'll do it. I'll always be riding a bike. It's whether or not, I'm taking it super serious or not.
Competing. So this is a little bit of a tangent. And that space of being on a bike, and you're saying downhill. I'm only imagining, and I think I might have shared this with you when you talked about the trip that you took with your girls to that amazing. Where is it in Bentonville?
Bentonville, yes.
Bentonville, yeah.
Hmm.
Of my experience on a mountain bike, the first time it was like a lake or a tree, and I chose tree. I probably should have chose lake. It didn't end well. But this space of it's like maybe flow like this you need to be in control and also trusting and surrendering moving at really fast speeds so like just what is that space like when you're riding.
It's such a great question. I mean, it is flow state, but
Yeah.
I think it's like pure presence blended with complete trust, right? And this
Mm,
this awareness, like I would say really kind of kinesthetic awareness of your body in motion and just trusting that your body knows what to do
yeah.
and that you have the skill set, right? The bike riding capability, the bike handling skills to navigate the terrain.
Yeah.
And when those three come together, it's just pure flow. You don't think anything, you just feel it.
You do.
And
Yeah,
and
so
that
beautiful.
synchronicity with the bike is incredible.
Oh, so fun, so fun. Okay, so in this space, so active, competing, and also it's not that you have to do, right? It's this I get to and I want to, and if it fits and it's aligned, yeah, so beautiful.
Hmm.
And then, is your husband still competing, or is he?
Yes, yeah,
He
we
is.
kind of do. I would say he's enjoying the competing a bit more than me.
Okay.
So he's already got some races identified for next year. But definitely I think we balance each other out great that
Yeah,
if he wants to compete, I'm all in, I'll support him in it. He
that's
did
so
race
fun.
nationals again this year. I did not. but I think it's a fun balance for us to be able to continue to enjoy sport at that
That's so
level.
fun. Yeah. Well, I love that because I think, when I finished competitive swimming, it was like I didn't touch the water, literally a pool for chlorinated water for 10 years. And so I love like having these conversations and just feeling expanded in terms of the connection to sport that can be healthy and still exist. Maybe it's not swim for me, although I am back in the pool without resistance, but being able to be active. What someone was talking about, a softball team and a soccer team, like, so just expanding what's possible to still stay connected to
Hmm.
movement and people and really community. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
100%. And I think ultimately that, if you were to think about who am I definitely still identify as an athlete at my core. Like that is who I am.
Yeah.
But what it is I love my body in motion, whether I'm
Yeah.
weightlifting or riding. I love paddle boarding. Like if I'm not a
So
mountain bike in the summer, I'm on a paddle board. So I think it's just that sense of peace
yes.
and calmness and groundedness that I feel in movement that brings me so much joy.
So much joy. And that also helps, like that connection to that. There's no need to get somewhere to accomplish something to then feel peace, right? That illusion that, yeah, and which I know
Mhm.
you're familiar with from the work that you do and who you sit across from and support. So transitioning, did you know, like if you were to think of a story or, a time in your life, like you'd pinpoint it to a moment where you knew or helped shape and or helped inform and shape this journey that you've been on as a professional? Like, did you know you wanted to go into sports psychology and clinical psychology? Yeah.
No,
So is there some
no.
catalyst or some
Um,
genesis story?
it's actually really interesting. If you would have asked me when I was 10, I was going to be a veterinarian, right? I was in love with horses.
Yeah.
When I went off to college, I was pre-med, and I really realized that I didn't like the level of science, right? The hard sciences were not my jam. I wasn't enjoying it. And
Mm,
so I actually pivoted and got my degree in kinesiology and athletic training. So I was a student athletic trainer for 4 years,
love.
and which was awesome because I learned so much. And I still like, I love to geek out on biomechanics and exercise physiology like that. I love that stuff. But what I realized as an athletic trainer, which you will appreciate, I think, is I had no life of my own. And I was not ready to surrender my life to the lives of student athletes at 22. Like it was
Yeah.
not happening.
It's real. Yeah. Yeah.
So I very quickly pivot. Like I graduated, I passed my certification exam. I could have gone on and had a career right away.
Yeah.
But in that space, I also started exploring what my other options were. And this is actually how I met Greg Harden was
Mm,
this idea of how else can I work with athletes and support them at a different level. And so that's
yeah.
really where I started to pursue sports psychology. And the sports psychology I loved, but I felt it was quite limiting because at that point, and it's still pretty similar, like you teach mental skills, which mental skills are incredible and they are so important for athletes. But I wanted to know, how are you and how's your life? And
Yeah.
let's talk about like the deeper stuff. And so that's really what led me into clinical psychology.
Yeah. Beautiful. So will you, so for someone that just doesn't understand the difference and the overlap and intersection of kind of thinking in terms of what those are, so performance skills versus the clinical psychology, and how the, maybe I'm leading with the question, but just like how the clinical psychology without that, right? Like the limitations of this element of sports psych without this other piece. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So most sports psych programs who are master's based, right? So I'm thinking just kind of
Mhm.
master's based, they really focus on teaching cognitive skills and
Mhm.
behavioral skills to optimize performance, right? So how to manage performance anxiety, how to reframe self-talk, how
Mhm.
to set effective goals, how to use breath to calm yourself or
Mhm.
hype yourself. And so performance programs really focus on how do we optimize the energy state of the athlete in sport.
Mhm.
The change comes when we start to think about how is the human being doing? Do they have generalized anxiety? Are they dealing with interpersonal distress? Is there a problem with a coach athlete relationship that is causing issues in their own mental health and well-being? Do they have an eating disorder?
Mhm.
And so mental skills building is I think so important and becoming quite mainstream today for many athletes. But it really is like a toolbox. Here are skills to use in performance, and truly they're life skills, right? They
Yeah,
are life skills that you can use for test anxiety and
totally.
dealing with a hard conversation with a friend, right? So they are life skills that we package as performance skills, which a lot of athletes like. um, but there's a limitation, and what I learned is gosh, if you came to me and you were my client and you're like, I can't sleep at night, I'm so anxious because I'm worrying about this and this and this, as a performance consultant, I would have to refer you to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
As a clinical psychologist, I can say, tell me more,
Yeah.
and I can help you deal with those symptoms that really are impacting your mental health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Exactly why I referred to you in other sense. Like, yes, I mean that in that lane that I like the coaching space, and I'm not saying I do not have a certification in sports psychology, but that idea of bringing like using mindfulness as a modality and being able to work alongside of somebody in this coaching lane, there are limitations, and I think that that idea, because I still think there's resistance in terms of I don't need that. Like, why do I, if I just want to work on my sport, like I don't need that. And it's like, actually, instead of continually putting out fires, we can get to the root, right? We can do some really pretty powerful big work. So because of how you talk about too, it's like a human body, like it's a human being, and that, right, coming from Greg too, if we become a better person, right, become an expert on ourselves and do that work, it's going to help us become a better athlete. Yeah. So thank you for
100%.
sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And any flaws in the question too, I'm just thinking in terms of how I asked that, because I think, yeah, people aren't sure where to start or who to see, or when it comes to that. And the space too of climbing into the clinical work that you do. And the first, I think I shared with you before call, when we were talking earlier this year, that the first time I saw you and heard you speak was at the Female Athlete Conference. And as an adult listening to you talk and putting pieces together in my own journey of going like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. And oh my gosh, well, that makes sense. And so as somebody in recovery now, it's been 25 years of being in recovery from navigating that. I think I also share with you, Greg was like, this is going to require a team. Like, this isn't just a me job.
Yes.
We need to bring in some more supports. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget that. So this space of, can we climb into that space of
For sure.
disordered eating and eating, and even like bigger picture perfectionism, but just what have you learned in your experience that we would benefit from knowing as parents, what you've seen? And I think, yeah, there's no need to sugarcoat or polish it. It's like, I think have been doing this work for so long. So what have you learned?
Yeah. I think that this is to me very common, but I don't know that it's common to the world at
Mm,
large. That your perfectionistic, high achieving, people pleasing athletes are the most susceptible. And I think sometimes
yeah,
in our minds, and being a parent, I totally get it. You're like, oh, but my kid's fine, right? That would never happen to my kid.
yeah.
But typically it's those kids you never worry about that are the kids we need to worry the most about,
Mm,
because they don't know how to ask for help, or they've identified with this role of I'm the good kid, right? My
yes.
sibling's the bad kid. I'm the good kid. I can't have problems.
Hmm.
And so I think really being thoughtful about each one of your kids,
Yeah.
and recognizing that their own personality traits and tendencies could be the very catalyst for developing disordered eating or eating disorder or maladaptive exercise. We don't talk about exercise much, but compulsive exercise,
Mm,
and I think that that's the other blurry piece is we largely as a society and a culture are so preoccupied with clean eating and
yeah.
exercise and movement and fitness and the whole fitness industry, right? And the diet industry, that it's really hard to know that, like, oh, my kid runs 7 miles on their day off on Sunday because they're disciplined,
Yeah.
versus they run 7 miles on Sunday because they can't take a day off because they're scared of what will happen if they
Yeah.
do take the day off, right? So
Yeah.
being really curious, with your kids, and starting to understand what's the motivation behind this, and if they can't talk about it, that to me is a concern. If they, I don't know,
Yeah.
I just run, that to me is really concerning, versus like, oh, well, I run with my best friend and we have fun and we get coffee,
Hmm.
like if there's a reason, like a social reason, or
Hmm.
I feel really stiff and it helps me feel better, like
Yeah.
what's the reason behind that, or the motivation. And um I think the other part is it's really hard to tell what's the difference between I'm a healthy eater and I have a disordered eating pattern,
Yeah.
and so for parents, just throwing some curveballs in there, right? Like if we always eat healthy, take your kids out to fast food and see what happens. Like, do they have the
Hmm.
flexibility to be able to
Yeah.
do that.
Yep.
And throw those curveballs just to kind of be curious and check in with kids and their relationship with food. And boys too, I think
Yes.
we still think it's a girl's problem, but 100% no. I treat just as many boys and males in my practice as I do girls and women.
Yeah.
And so really realizing that this isn't just a women's problem.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because I think, we talk about it a lot, and certainly social media does not help the situation.
Mm.
But for the amount that we talk about it, it's still very prevalent. And it's
Yeah.
still, it's still happening every day in the lives of kids and adolescents and young adults who don't know better, or they find it to be a way to manage a really hard period of life, and maybe that's the most
Hmm.
important thing, is that nobody ever chooses it, right? Like if you're like, oh, my kid
Yeah.
would never do that. My kid would never choose to have an eating disorder, realizing that nobody ever chooses to have
Yeah.
eating disorder, anxiety, depression. Nobody chooses any mental illness. I can promise you
Yeah.
that. But I think realizing that oftentimes it happens without kids even realizing that it's happening, right? And
Hmm.
and so they're not asking for help because they don't even know that it's happened until it's gotten pretty far in.
Totally. Yes. Yes. And when I hear, I'm listening and like hearing it through my own lived experience as well. And this idea for me in my mind, it was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like it doesn't like it doesn't meet this particular view of how people talk about it, or check these boxes. And so therefore I'm fine, and rewarded really in some ways by, particularly in the sport of swimming, I would say in diving, gymnastic, like the sports where you're just literally like growing up without a lot of clothes on, right? In front of coaches, in
Mm-hmm.
front of people that may be even judging your performance. And so it's like this level of exposure and conversations, so I'll pause that because I have a question in terms of that, in terms of our role really as parents and navigating that space with environments, the culture. But back to this place of those that have sat across from you and what you've heard and the stories you hold. It's so beautiful that you bring like both, it's boys and girls, it's men and women. It's not just exclusively girls. When it comes to our role as parents, like I do believe that I haven't met a parent yet that doesn't love their kids. And I think that we show up sometimes and it's not intentional, but it's harmful, right? So what are some
Mm-hmm.
of the things that we may be doing? And this is broad strokes collective, but the purpose of asking this is really to help us grow our awareness and go, like, let me get curious. Am I showing up in that way that have caused harm, or that do cause harm, ways that we may be unintentionally hurting by the way that we talk about things, or the way, yeah. So what would you say
Yeah.
there?
I would say maybe kind of three bullet points, and I'm happy to elaborate on any of
Sure.
them or go further. But I think one that we don't even realize is how we talk about food. This is good
Yeah.
food, that is bad food. This is healthy food, that is junk food. In
Mm.
my family, and I've actually like I just realized this, but like when I was thinking of what are my proud moments, this is actually one of my proud moments. Is my kiddos' school. They when so my daughter's the oldest. When she started, they had red light, green light foods, and I was like,
Oh,
what is this red light, green
what
light
is
foods? And
really
they kept using the words, we're a healthy school, and we use healthy school and red light and green light. And I learned as my daughter was in kindergarten that they got green stickers if they brought a green light food, but if they brought a red light food, they got no sticker. So they
Mm.
were punished and like kind of publicly shamed for having the
Yeah.
wrong food that their parents picked for them, right? They're 5 years
Right.
old. So
Oh, wow. Think about
I
the
addressed it.
messaging.
I addressed it with the teacher first, and I was like, "Hey, Eve goes to after school care. She cannot just have an apple for her snack in the afternoon. Like she needs a meal. She's not going to eat
Yeah.
until 5 or 6, and she's scared that if I send her with more than an apple, that she won't get her sticker. What are we
Oh,
going to do about it?" So in that classroom, I was able to just bring concern, and the teacher started messaging like, "Hey, send a fruit and or vegetable and a protein and a fat." Like that was the language we started using of like
oh,
send filling food, send food
yeah.
that will fuel your child for many hours. Um, but full circle, as of this year, last year I was invited to talk to the health team, and I
Oh,
taught them
cool.
about power food and party food, which I'll fill in. And this year, the whole school implemented power foods and party foods. And so I was like, wow, like if it's just one little system. But
Yeah.
a power food is the idea, it's the food that nourishes your body. It's the food
Hmm.
that's going to give you long-term energy. It's the food that is going to provide the minerals and the vitamins and all the building blocks you need to be a healthy human, right? Fats,
Mm-hmm.
proteins, carbs. That is
I
the
learned that
power
from
food.
Rebecca, the foundations, the bricks. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And the party food is what we might traditionally call junk food or bad food, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the food that it tastes good, but it doesn't necessarily fuel you up long term. It doesn't necessarily provide any nutritional value. But if we're honest, we all love going to parties, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
all want to have a little party on our taste buds.
Yeah.
But also, here's a powerful thing, and this is what scares people. Like, if I eat party food, I'll never stop. If you actually listen to your taste buds, you stop tasting the food. So
Mm.
that tray of cookies that you thought was irresistible, if you actually tasted cookie by cookie, you might realize one, you didn't even like the cookies to begin with, so you pass all together.
Yeah.
Two, maybe they're a little too buttery. One's good, but two, you're over, And so
Yeah.
the party food is this idea that just like if you go to a party, at some point you want to leave. Everybody gets tired and wants to leave a party. Your taste buds are the same way, and at some
Mm.
point they want to leave. They're done with the food.
Yeah.
And so party food doesn't have to be scary if we actually taste the food we're eating.
Oh my gosh. There's an exercise in the MS. Are you familiar with MSP, the mindful
Mm-hmm.
sport
Yes.
performance? So the candy exercise was like, I did York. I went down for the training and I was like, this tastes like toothpaste. I don't even like this. Like, what? I've never slowed down long enough to actually taste it. So, talking about bringing mindfulness, I hear you saying bringing mindfulness in there, and also moving away from this idea of restriction. One of the most impactful reads the work of Ellen Satter and her Feeding
Mm-hmm.
with Love. Like, I was determined when I got pregnant to just be able to create a container of space that had a healthy, positive relationship with food. So that book was so powerful, and it was really hard because the other part of this is, as parents, like we've got our own, like we've got all our own stuff, right? Our own beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
what we were raised, like how we see the world. And so I remember one of the things that she says is essentially like you decide, where and when and what's offered, and they decide how much and if any. And it's like, control, right? Like, yeah.
Yes.
So I hear you saying in terms of how we like getting curious about how we talk about food
Yes.
and what messages maybe we're sending, even if unintentionally, right? Because it's just kind of how we're bathing in a culture that talks about it in a very unhealthy way. Yeah.
Right. 100%. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just realizing, this is good food, that's bad food. Kids start to associate with, I'm good for eating this, I'm bad for eating this, right? And
Yes.
that becomes concerning. And
Yes.
similarly, if we go back to that bullet point list, the second one is how we talk about our own bodies,
Mm.
right? Like how I talk about my body, whether or not I'm talking about my kid's body, my kids hear me talking about my body.
Yeah.
I make it a habit to not talk about my body at all, other than I want to be strong and fit enough to keep up with you two. Like you two are going to outrun me someday, and I want to be strong and fit enough to be able to keep up for a while and enjoy this.
Yes.
But
Beautiful.
I think whether we talk about our size or our shape or our fitness or how our
Mhm.
clothes are fitting, kids internalize that. Like, what does that mean about me? What does that
Yeah.
mean about my body? And
Mhm.
so really protecting kids' relationships with their own bodies by being thoughtful and conscientious of how we talk about our own bodies.
Mm.
And that kind of goes into the third bullet point of how do we talk about exercise and fitness, right?
Mm.
And I see that a lot where if a parent does, let's say, high intensity training 7 days a week, in the kid's mind, like, oh, I must need to do hit training 7 days a week because this is normal and it's a family value, without taking into regard developmentally what they need,
Mhm.
rest, recovery, psychological well-being, and
Mhm.
so I think realizing too that like maybe like a parent might think, and not to blame anybody, I agree, I think every parent is so well intended, and
Yeah.
we've all grown up in diet culture, and we've all grown up and we're slowly figuring things out.
Mhm.
But if a parent has a really rigid relationship with exercise,
Yeah.
their kids are going to start to model that too. They start to see that as this makes me a better person, or this makes me like my mom or my
Yeah.
dad. And so that normalizes what could be considered like a maladaptive relationship with exercise and fitness. And so,
Yeah.
I think kind of just being aware of how we talk about things and how we label things, but also if we say nothing at all, but we do something, our kids pick up on that too, right? Like that behavior is going to
So,
impact them just as much as the words.
well, I interviewed Corey. I know you know each other now. So, and who is also a psychologist, and she was saying it was such a moment for me as I listen and I'm asking these questions. I love learning as I'm in these conversations. And she was talking about just like the power of what they're like, how they're watching us. And so like, whatever our words are, they are listening, but also like they're really honed in on our actions. And I was like, oh, good point. Okay. Right. Like, so what we're doing and how we're showing up. Yeah. So what would you suggest for a parent who's struggling? Like, so maybe they're listening to this conversation and like, my gosh, like, yeah, I know. And I don't want to be that way. And also like, I don't know what to do next. What would you suggest for a parent has their own inner struggle, which is interfering with their ability to show up in a way that they're wanting to?
Mhm. I think I'm thinking kind of like an all or nothing continuum
Yeah.
and about readiness, right? And nothingness is you listen to it and you're like, that's not me. That would be denial.
Yeah.
And if we think about stages of change, right? Maybe preparation or kind of getting contemplation area, maybe it's just reading a bit more to see if it feels relatable, right?
Yeah.
Reading some books, blog posts, kind of trying to figure out how relatable does this feel to help with awareness and recognition of
Mm.
what it is or isn't you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, if there is like, okay, I see this and I know this about me, knowing it's okay to ask for help. And you mentioned this earlier, but like, you don't have to be sick enough. You don't have to be a certain level of sick
Mhm.
to ask for help. I think I have I'm so privileged in all that I do and so honored in the way I get to navigate and walk in people's lives with them.
Yeah.
I truly feel that it's a blessing. Um, but the amount of middle-aged women who contact me and be like, I don't have an eating disorder, but gosh, I'm rigid with my nutrition, or
Yeah.
gosh, like I can't take a day off. Like it's okay to ask for help, even if it's not a big problem.
Mm.
And in fact, it's admirable to be able to work on those little things and find freedom at this point in your life, however old you are.
I
You
love
don't have
that.
to be super sick, and you don't have to look sick to want help.
I think that was one of the most impactful parts of listening to Rebecca when she was sharing about reds. And I'm like, wait, it's not related to a body. Like this was even my adult bird. This was not that long ago. And I'm like, oh, it's not related to a percent body fat. Like, and reds meaning relative energy deficiency, right? In sport. And this idea of like again, this construct of how we see things and oh, like that's how I was viewing it was probably fed into why I didn't think I qualified, right? It's like I didn't look sick
Mm-hmm.
enough. So tossing
Right.
that and giving ourselves space. I love that. Such a beautiful invitation, getting curious and then being able to reach out for help. There's not a threshold that you have to hit before engaging and asking for help. When someone goes through that, so I think this came up recently in this conversation around fitness level. And that even that phrase of an athlete said, this was told to me and like I know what the code is. And so in that space as a parent, so like I can think of more than a handful of examples where like what do we say something? Do we not say something? How do we talk about bodies? Do we not talk about bodies? Whose role is that? Is it anybody's role? And so I'd love you to just shine a light on that in terms of again, centering the experience of our kids and what's best for them in terms of their sense of safety and well-being. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I would say if you're concerned, talk about it because nobody else is going to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, they're your kids and it's your job to protect them, even
Yeah.
if it's a really vulnerable and uncomfortable conversation. And always start with an I'm worried. I've
Mm.
noticed. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what parents do, and again, to no fault of anybody, I never want to blame a parent, but they get worried about their kid and they take them to the pediatrician.
Mm.
Pediatricians don't have that much training on eating disorders and disordered eating, so they might just normalize it like, oh no, they've just leaned out a bit, right? And,
Yeah.
and, and normalize that, yeah, they've lost weight, but they've leaned out. But if we're thinking about like adolescence and growth trajectories, like we shouldn't be necessarily leaning out and losing weight when our bodies are growing and changing and maturing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think really starting with this idea of I'm worried, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I've noticed, help me understand what's going on. And they might not tell you the first time or the second time, but if you keep asking and you keep bringing it up, our hope is at some point they can say, I'm really stressed about all my AP test, or
Mm.
gosh, I used to be a starter and now I'm not a starter and I don't know what to do, like whatever that is. And it could be, like we said, nobody chooses an eating disorder. It could be that they're restricting not because they want to lose weight, but because they're anxious or stressed or something's happening in life and they're just eating less and starting to lose weight. But that is
Yeah.
one of the little ways, the pathways, the channels in which disordered eating and eating disorders develop. And
Yeah.
so I would say talk about it and realize that there's no such conversation that's too hard to have with your own kid. They can
Mm,
certainly feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, um, but at the end of the day, you're their parent. You're the one fighting for them.
yeah. And so would you say in that conversation, it's okay to mirror what you're seeing in terms of their physical body? Is it okay to talk about that? Like, I'm noticing these changes, or does that come across as judgment and so that nuanced space?
I think I definitely think, with care and concern, but, I've noticed that you've lost some weight or it seems like your pants are fitting looser. I'm
Yeah.
worried about you.
Yeah.
I think speaking about it in very general terms, not like really specifics of, I've noticed that your weight went down blank pounds, or
Right.
I hope parents are not weighing their kids in.
Yeah.
But just kind of being thoughtful about like, gosh, it seems like your pants are falling off.
Yeah.
What's going, and that's hard with today's culture and in today's style, right? Like they all love these giant clothes that don't fit anyways.
That's real,
Um,
actually. That's very
um,
interesting. Yeah.
but so I think just kind of that idea that you can definitely observe, because if they're like, I'm
Hmm.
fine, don't worry about it, but none of your pants fit anymore. Like, what? I
Mm,
am worried. I'm your mom. I'm your
yeah.
dad. I'm your parent. I'm worried. What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I
But,
love that. So that curiosity, that
mhm.
being able to lead with that, right? And being able to turn toward, and again, like you're saying, even despite the level of vulnerability, like they are our kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So in this space of what you've seen, and not just from your experience clinically and in the sports psych space, but in the consulting role, we'll get to that in a little bit of what you're doing now. Um, but your own lived experience in this with motherhood hat on, like all of your different perspectives kind of woven together. What would you say when we look at the landscape of sport, not just youth sport, but kind of across? What would you say that we're getting like right? I like the word aligned better. Like, where are we aligned in terms of honoring the development of the young people that we're parenting, leading, guiding, coaching, and where are we missing?
Yeah.
I
I'll
know it's
start
a
with where
really
we're
broad.
aligning, then I'll get to the miss. But I love this question because I think there's so much truth to that. We are getting a lot right now. For as
Yeah.
much as we're getting wrong, we are getting just as much right. And
Mm,
I think one is this accessibility, right? And I'm thinking both able-bodied and disabled bodies, right? Paralympic athletes as well as able-bodied athletes. Like there's so much more accessibility for athletes and performers to be able to pursue their passions and their
mm,
joys. And that can look like, year-round club sports for really serious athletes, but also when I grew up in my little farm town in Michigan, like if I wanted to play soccer, I had to wait till spring, and then I got to play for 8 weeks, and then it
yeah.
was over,
Yeah.
and that was the end of my season, right? And if your school didn't host a sport, that was it. That you just didn't get to play that sport. You didn't have a chance to be that athlete. And so I think accessibility has grown tremendously, where there are so many opportunities for individuals to access sports and to
Yeah.
explore sports and figure out what sports mean from them. And I mentioned club sport or elite sport and Olympic sport, but also like if you think back down to it, certainly, and this is as much as we get right as we get wrong, but all the way down to you can sign up for I-9 for 6 weeks, and an hour total commitment per week of do the practice, try the sport, go home and move on with your day. And so I think there's such a great opportunity for trying and experimenting and being in sport and figuring out what it means for you in that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think within that, it creates a lot of opportunity. And, the other thing is, and this is again one of the double-edged swords, I'll speak to the positive and then I'll flip to the negative. But I think with so many more resources, right? We have speed and agility training, and we have
Yeah.
dry land, and we have mental skills training that athletes are created or equipped with more resources for
Mm,
resilience and ability to be successful long term,
yeah.
with regards to having whatever they need at their fingertips, right? And
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure clearly there were sports psychologists back in the day, um, but
I don't know. It's
nobody
like,
talked about it, right? They were
yeah,
few and far
Greg,
between. They
he no, he was like just Greg. He was G with no labels in a room over there. And like you walk in one door, you walk out the other door. I did not know he was a licensed social worker until so long after I worked with him. So I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, but that's my
and,
point, right?
yeah,
Like when
right.
we were in college,
Yeah.
it was a thing. I took a class on sports psychology in my senior
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a thing that people knew about. And certainly people weren't going out and getting mental skills training, and there weren't
Yeah.
certified mental performance coaches in the world that were,
Hmm.
easily accessible. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of accessibility, and
Yeah.
that creates a lot of opportunity, and it creates a lot of I think space for people at all different levels in sport, right?
Hmm.
Whether I just want to try it out and explore. I enjoy it, but I want to be a rec athlete, or I want to
Yeah.
take it serious, and I really want to pursue this at a high level and an elite level. So I think that we've got a lot right with regards to creating accessibility and
Hmm.
variety and with regards to sport. Um, on the flip side of that, and certainly that supports performance optimization, right? Humans are doing incredible things with their bodies these days, and
Yeah.
that's really fun and exciting to see what humans can do with this level of high performance training and the science to back it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I was thinking about this, and a couple of things, well, three things in particular, but one, and I see this a lot. And again, this is parents are well intended. So I say this knowing that parents are doing the
Hmm.
best by their kids.
Yes.
Um, but the amount of, I think parents who are like, well, I never had this opportunity, so I want to make sure my kids have this
Mm.
opportunity. So my kid is now in a year-round club sport, and I've also got them doing speed and agility training before school, and I've got them seeing a mental skills performance coach after school. And so they're busy, from 6 a.m. to 7 or 8 p.m. And we're overbooking our kids. And I'm going to use the word scarcity because we don't want them to miss out. We want to make sure they have enough opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk a lot about scarcity in a minute.
Yeah.
Um, but within that, right, like we are working so hard to create opportunities for our kids that we don't realize the cost that it comes with regards to our kids just being kids, right? Being able to
Yeah.
play after school with friends, and free play, and the creativity and the variety that happens naturally on the local soccer field down the street
Hmm.
versus the very structured and planned practice or program that they're doing within their sports organization. And so, I think it's this I see it all the time of like, I want my kid to have what I never had. I don't want
Yeah.
them to feel pressured. They don't have to do it, but I want them to have it. And
Mm.
the kids are like, but my parents want me to do it, so I don't want to tell them I don't want to do it because I don't want to disappoint them.
Yes.
And
That's
so
such
there's
a
this
real.
this
Yeah.
paradox of the parents want to give their kids what they want, but there's no pressure. They don't have to do it. But the kids want to please their parents and they don't want to disappoint them. So they keep doing, and
Yeah.
it's this really sticky situation where I think it's all well intended, but it's
Hmm.
missing the mark of what's best for the athlete, what's best for the human in the
Yes.
situation.
How do we cut through that? So, like, let's say you're in that dynamic and in that dance. I've literally, that what you're talking about is this dynamic I've witnessed. And the parents really do, like, it's okay. Like, they don't need to go a best time or whatever. Like, I love them, period. And also, right. So they're in this dance. What's that pathway in? Like, how do we disrupt that cycle to set this the dynamic free, right? And
Right.
recenter what their kid is wanting.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to that vulnerability,
Yeah.
and kids feeling safe enough to say what's working and what's not working. Because I think
Mm.
it's, hey, do you want me to sign you up for, speed and agility again? We're coming up on our next session.
Yeah.
Instead of do you want me to, like, hey, let's talk about what's going well with speed and agility. What are you not liking about it? How are you feeling about the time you're investing in it? Does it feel like
Mm.
too much? So
That's
we have to
beautiful.
realize that kids don't know what they don't know. All
Yeah.
they know right now is really overscheduled, busy lives.
Yeah.
But they don't know what it's like to have free time. And in fact, a lot of them are scared to have free
Yeah.
time because, like, the amount of like, well, I'll be bored. Like, wow. Like, boredom is the birth of creativity, and it's the most
Literally.
amazing place for you to be.
Oh my gosh. So
So they're scared of boredom, but we need to teach them how to tolerate boredom,
yeah.
and we need to create space for them to feel bored. Um,
Yes. I think about that from the nervous system too, of like, if this is what I've known as love and safety is go, 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 then like to be still, to be bored feels probably to the nervous system unsafe. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
so unsafe, right?
Yeah.
And that scarcity mindset because I'm not going to be enough. Like if
Yeah.
I'm sitting home on a Thursday night bored by myself and all my friends are at speed and agility, which I normally do, but I told my parents I didn't want to do, like probably I'm not going
Yeah.
to get to do what I want to do long term. I'm not going to be good enough. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
fast enough. I'm not going to be strong enough.
Which slides so fast into I'm not enough. Yeah. And then
Yes.
shame. Totally. Yeah. So say more about, so you alluded to like with scarcity. What do you want to say there? Because it's
Yeah.
that, I mean, that's the driver. And I think like that's when you think about talking to a parent in this wild west of Division I football right now. This idea of like it almost, I don't even know if it's conscious or subconscious, but a tactic to just like the coaches to keep things so destabilized in the dark, in like it's just like scarcity everywhere, and that then there's control. That's how I see it, at least. So yeah, so it's speak to us in terms of what is scarcity for someone that maybe doesn't even know what that is, and then how does that impact us as humans, and kind of what's our path to free ourselves again from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to start with, I mean, I think we both used the word already a lot, but I'm not enough. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough opportunity. I won't get the opportunity I need, but it's always this not enoughness, not
Yeah.
enough time, not enough opportunity. I'm not good enough. And the not enough really starts to reflect our self-worth and
Yeah.
our core sense of self and who we are. And so the behavior becomes of I have to do more. I have to be enough. I have to get enough. I have to do enough to prove that I'm worthy, to prove that I can have this opportunity to become the college swimmer or the D1 football player or the Olympic athlete that I dream of being. And so scarcity is this idea that there's just not enough
Yeah.
resources, not enough time. I'm not going to be enough. And that drives fear-based behavior, you know, and if we kind of zoom out and then we'll zoom back in, but zooming out, like youth sport is an industry, right? People make money off our kids playing sports, even though they are youth student athletes, right? They do not make a dime, but people are making money off of funding events for them.
Yeah.
Not blaming anybody, right? Again, I'm not here to point fingers, but we have to realize that the industry isn't in it to protect the kids.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
in it to be profitable and to create an industry that works for them, the adults.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when we think about not enough, we're even thinking about club sports and like if this club team is doing this, then this club team wants to do that because they want to be enough and they want to attract top talent and they want to be profitable and they want their athletes to have opportunities, you know. And so when we zoom out at the industry in and of itself, it's scarcity. There
Yeah.
won't be enough. And so they keep one-upping each other, trying to create more opportunity to be enough when, gosh, if we could just reduce the scaffolding and bring it down, like, man, what would happen if we thought about what's truly in the best interest of these youth athletes
Yeah.
that are
Yes.
developing under our umbrella?
My gosh.
Like, what if we all took a statement and said, you know what, every club sport should be required to have 3 months off a year?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not, this is, I've heard that. Yeah. This is like in terms of like, what can we do to make a change, or what would you, if you had a magic wand, like what would you do differently? Would that be part of your plan? If you could just with the magic wand, revamp it, how we're doing things?
It would be two things. It would be one, everybody has mandatory off season. Every club sport, there is a period where there's no contact, right? You just don't get to train, you don't get to compete. And then two, I would say that all student athletes are required to participate in two sports to prevent overuse and burnout and really support long-term well-being with regards to the body itself. But if we kind of zoom in on scarcity mindset, so I'll come back to this, you know, if we look just at the microcosm of a single team, if every student athlete is worried about being enough to be able to start or to have a position or to not get cut, then they are now competing against each other. And this is what you just described, right?
It's
like if you
real.
are scared of me, if you're scared I'm going to take your position, then I'm going to work harder or you're going to work harder and it's going to make us both better. But that's not true. It's going to make us both anxious and fearful and stressed and tense. And we're not going to reach our full potential. We might perform well, but we're not going to hit our full potential. We're not going to figure out how great we can be because we see each other as threats versus allies. And if we can flip that equation and say, hey, you two are teammates and together you're going to make each other better. And when you're both better, our team is better and you both will be create opportunities and you will both be valued and rewarded for who you are and the role you play on our team. Like, whoo.
Oh my gosh.
Now
everything.
I can achieve my greatness.
Yeah. Will you speak? So I just had somebody ask who was doing, one of the teams that I support, and somebody was like, isn't fear, it was kind of a blended, like fear and anger isn't that a motivator, like for high performance, right? So will you, because you spoke right into that, but can we just name this, especially with your background and what you've witnessed and the research and just all your education, all of it. Yeah. So when you say that fear kind of cutthroat, you versus me, and that scarcity mentality we can achieve, and it's limiting. Can you speak into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so when we think about fear, right, just our natural fear state, if we
Mm-hmm.
just go into the body, that puts us into fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm in fight or flight, then my body is focused on preservation, self-preservation. It's not focused on optimal performance. It's not focused on flow state. You
Yeah.
cannot hit flow state if you are scared. Fear and flow state are mutually exclusive. They do not work together.
I
They
can't
will
wait to
never live in the same
blast
room.
this clip. It's so, yes. Yeah. Well, so, and like for someone that's saying no, like that's, like it's just how do we know that that's true? Because of when fight or flight's activated, what goes offline in terms of being able to access flow?
So we really go into our limbic system, right? Our most
Mm-hmm.
primitive part of our brain, because our
Yeah.
body is focused on self-preservation.
Yeah.
And within that, if we're just thinking about self-preservation, it's very reactive.
Yeah.
And so for all the hours we spend training, if we're worried about getting cut or being benched,
Yeah.
I'm not using the training and all the preparation I've used. My body's just reacting and
Yeah.
responding. And then I get preoccupied with I made a mistake or I did something wrong. And then I'm
Yes.
more scared, right? So I'm more reactive. And it's, if we were to think about a scared animal,
Yeah.
they're not thinking this human is here to help me and create this opportunity for me to be safe.
Yeah.
They're thinking like I need to keep myself safe. And that is the way the athlete brain works with
Yeah.
regards to if I'm put in a position where I feel like my role on the team is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
My brain isn't thinking like, oh, relax and enjoy yourself and have fun
It's
and be creative
right.
and let all your training show up and hit flow state. Your brain is thinking about don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake, don't make a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
And what happens when you think about don't make a mistake?
My gosh.
You are tight and tense and making tons of mistakes.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. And this is bringing us into it. I cannot believe how much, like, I knew our time would go so quickly. And also, like, so many more questions that I have for you. I want, like, this idea of culture and what you're talking about. Will you shift into this newest layer and full send and what you're doing in terms of, so it's not just clinical and sports psychology, that you're working one-on-one with humans and caring for them there. You've now opened this consulting practice and the way of the champion. So will you speak and breathe life into that and what you're doing? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So really what I've observed over the past, gosh, it's been 12 or 13 years now that I've been in private practice is a lot of the work that I'm doing is very individual. I'm working with athletes, I'm working with coaches, I'm working with parents, solving individual problems. And I've realized that no amount of individual problem solving and educating has really solved the greater problem, which is we need a cultural revolution. We need a systems change. And so with Full Send, what I'm doing is I'm really taking my insights that I've gleaned from being in the trenches with all of these
Yes.
athletes and parents and coaches, and stepping out to look at systemically, how do we shift cultures to not only help athletes perform at their highest level, right? To achieve that level of performance excellence and peak performance. But how do we create a system where they feel so safe
Yeah.
that they can actually thrive and exceed what we thought they were capable of?
Yes.
And that really comes down to what I do with Way of Champions is leading with love, right? Because love, the opposite of love is fear. So if
Mm-hmm.
I get rid of fear and I lead with love and I focus on winning relationships, right? Using relationships to elevate and catapult our team into greatness, that is where we get true championship culture. And that's where we create our greatest opportunities for success.
It's
And
so
so,
beautiful. Yeah. And you see examples of that when you look inside. So tangential, but New England Patriots this year, listening to the Mike Vrabel. I don't know if you follow or if you're following that, and the way he talks with love, like just openness and pouring love into these players and getting to know them, and you're just like, no, it's not a surprise. They're that when I was listening to an interview with him and then witnessing him interact with players, I'm like, man, yeah, that's it. That's so beautiful. Yeah,
right.
I
And
love
within
that.
that, it's not only do I feel so loved, right? But I feel relevant and I feel
Yeah.
important and I feel valued and empowered and respected. And when I feel, we call it the river, and as the Way of the Champions, the river, relevant, important, valued, empowered, and respected.
Beautiful.
When I feel bathed in the river, I feel safe to fail. And when I feel safe to fail, I can take risks. And when I take
Yes.
risks, that's when I find my full
Oh, that's so cool.
opportunity for greatness.
I love that. Yeah. So I was going to say the connection to safety, all those things. That's so beautiful. And then feeling safe enough to take risks. How can we bring those concepts into our home as parents? When we think about this kind of permission slip for us to pull some of what you're doing, you talk about the culture within teams, but the culture inside of our own home. How can we take some of that and thread that through in our lives?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think one of the big things is let your kids see you mess up, right? Make mistakes, fail, take
So
ownership of your failures.
permission to mess up. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get so focused on I want a role model for my kid who I want them to be, that
Yeah.
we forget that part of being human is making mistakes and learning through our adversity and
Mhm.
having fun. Like I play with my kids on our bikes. I do things, and my kids have seen me crash my bike when I'm just like messing around. But they see me roll off, right? They see me get up and
Yeah.
shake it off and keep going. Versus this idea that I want to put bumpers on them and protect them, and they only get to see
Yes.
the best, perfect version of me. I am not a perfect human. I know I'm not perfect. And so I role model messiness and creativity and fun and play. And within that, right, we then give our kids permission to try and to risk and to fail. And that is where we open up that space for them to thrive.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And sharing that kind of falling, like you're saying, literally crashing. What has in the way that you're parenting, I would say though, the way that you're parenting and even how your parents raised you in the culture is that alone is such a powerful permission slip for all of us listening to just consider in terms of allowing them to find their joy and this like there's a freedom and a spaciousness around that. What has parenting your children kind of in general or even through this lens of sport taught you? Like what's something you're one of your greatest challenges or spaces where you've learned something about yourself?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, I think parenting in general has just taught me how valuable and important it is to be real with your kids,
Mm,
not to be a version of yourself that you want them to see, not to get caught up in what social media says you should be as a parent, but like to be honest and true to yourself and your
yeah.
values and to trust that if you're a real human raising real humans,
Oh
right,
my
to be
gosh.
their best selves,
This is
then
so
they're
helpful.
gonna be healthy and happy
Yeah.
and successful.
With this coming, it feels like even bigger permission slip because of your area of expertise and where you sit and how you listen. It's like you're saying to us that we don't need to be perfect. Like that is like that's everything. Because I think that for me, speaking personally, that place of shame can kick in so quickly if I fall short or mess up or there's some sort of rupture. What I'm learning with my support team is like that process of repair is also a beautiful modeling because we're human and like we're gonna have ruptures. So yeah,
100%. And I mean,
yeah,
it's critical. If
yeah,
our kids don't know how to repair ruptures, we're not setting them up to succeed as adults in life, right? Like
yeah,
part of learning as children is learning how to say, I'm sorry. I made a
yes,
mistake. I
yes,
bet that was really upsetting to you.
yeah. Oh, that's
Like,
so
wow,
powerful.
to see one of the most important people in their lives model what it means to take responsibility and accountability for your behaviors.
It's
That
everything.
that in and of
Yeah.
itself is going to give your child the greatest gift in their life.
Oh my gosh. So powerful. What questions have I not asked you that you were wanting me or prepared for me to ask you? You want to look at
Um,
your, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say the other permission slip that I have
Yeah.
thought about, and I think this one is so pivotal, especially for sports parents, is make time for family meals.
Yes.
Family meals. We know the research shows that family meals are actually preventative in the development of eating disorders. They prevent
Mm,
people from developing eating disorders. But we also know like that is a critical time to join with your kids. And
yeah.
when you say our family is so important, even if it's one time a week, right? It,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be every day if your schedules are crazy, but even just one time a week, our family is so important that we're going to sit down and have a conversation and share a meal with no technology, no
Yeah.
music, no sound, just us and food and talking about our days and our weeks. That tells your kid that they're relevant and important and valued, right? It
Mm,
empowers them to share their voice and talk about what's going on in life. I think
yes.
sometimes parents get upset, like, my kid never talks to me. Well, if you only want them to talk to you at a time when it's good for you, they probably are never going to talk to you. But if you sit down at a meal and give them time and space to warm up to talking, or my
Yeah.
kids, my daughter's an introvert. She does not want to talk after school. But every night
Yeah.
I go lay in bed with her, and she has so
Yeah.
much to say to me before bed.
Yes.
And same with our family meals. We do high, low, and buffalo. So if you don't know what to
Ooh, what's
talk
the
about,
buffalo? Yeah.
it's
What's
a random fact of the day.
Okay,
So
I love
just
that. We do
whatever
high, we
random
do best
thing.
part, worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny part sometimes, but the buffalo, I love that. So it's something
Yeah.
totally random. Oh,
And
that's
some
so
days my
fun.
kids will have like 25 buffaloes. I have another buffalo. I have another buffalo. I have another, like you could just tell your story. They don't know how to have to be buffaloes, but it gives kind of a script, right? If it's like, well,
Yeah.
we don't know how to talk as a family,
Yeah.
a high low buffalo gives you a little something to work off of. And then you can ask questions like, oh, tell me more about that. Or I didn't know
Hmm.
that that happened to you today,
Yes, it's so
And
beautiful. And
so,
it's not just how was your day? Good, fine, okay. Like then there's the
yes.
end. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. So when it comes to how can people work with you? And I know I've reached out to you in terms of like, where are your credentials? Who can this person work with you?
Hmm.
So when it comes in all the different ways. So learning more about what you're doing, particularly with Full Send Consulting and
Hmm.
this space of being able, I love what you're talking. What was the language you used around culture? What did you say? Like an uprising? You didn't say
Oh, cultural
uprising.
revolution.
Revolution. That's similar,
Hmm.
right?
Yes. Hmm.
Cultural revolution. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. And it's so necessary. And I think in terms of just what like front of my mind today is because of this conversation with mom about like just Division I football and like it's just yeah. So
Hmm.
we're needing this. Yeah. So where can people
Yeah.
learn more and find out how to work with you, bring you in? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My website, www.fullsendconsulting.co, no MCO.
Oh, got it.
That
Okay.
that
We'll have it
that
in the show notes too. Yeah.
Perfect. That website has it kind of lists all the services I provide through the consulting with regards to coaching coaches,
Yes.
providing team support, coming in and working with teams and helping them to shift more towards this way of champions
Mm.
philosophy and leading with love. And I also provide parent coaching. So if there's a parent who's just
Oh,
like,
cool.
I need help or I don't know what to do, I also provide that through Full Send as well. And
Oh,
then
that's really great to know.
my
And that can
clinical
be
practice.
any related to really anything, right? Yeah. Oh, that's
Hmm.
fantastic to know. Yeah. We'll make sure that we highlight that particular in this space because of all the people that are listening and as we're navigating these things. What
Hmm.
does that look like? Is that coaching sessions so
Yeah,
virtually?
so it's usually like a one-time consultation. Sometimes it can be two or three, depending on the family.
Got it.
But it really is, I tend to book about an hour, but if we need more, we can. But it's
Yeah.
parents just get to come in and say, here's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Help us figure out how to navigate it or what changes can we make. And so it really is coaching parents on how to shift their family system or how to support their kids through recruitment or um, not
Oh my
getting selected
gosh.
for a team or, going on to college and not knowing how to deal with that stress. I think there are so many resources for athletes, but there's not a lot for parents. Parents
Totally.
are like on their own, they're just supposed to figure it out. And
Yes.
so it really tends to be more kind of one time, let's kind of problem solve. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's
Yeah.
talk about what our family values are and what we're hoping for. And then how do we bridge the gap between the problem and those family values and what we're hoping
Oh
for?
my gosh, that's so amazing. Yeah, that is so needed too. Yes, I can't wait to share your information in that direction too. So yeah, so I'm so grateful. So like for just you, who you are in the world, how you've helped those that I've like cared for and loved, and myself really like those pieces of my story that kind of came together in this puzzle helped me enter a new level of freedom internally. So I'm forever grateful for you and Becca. Like I hold you so
Mm.
close in my heart. So thank you for your time and for this space. And yeah, one last ask, is there any other question that or topic that to touch on that you were hoping that we would, but we didn't have time for?
I'm looking over my notes. I think, oh, the other thing that it's just kind of a funny anecdote. But one of the things I had prepared for is like, what have I learned as a sport parent?
Yes.
And it's so funny because we tell parents to keep your mouth shut, right? Like keep your mouth shut, don't say anything at all. It is so hard to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
I know
It's real.
because my kids don't. My son literally says, "Mom, be quiet," and I'm just like, "Go!" Like I'm not even coaching. I'm just cheering, and I can't say anything
Yeah.
for him.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
That's so funny.
I want to validate that it is hard. It is so hard to keep your mouth shut. It is so hard to not say something because you so desperately want to help your kids. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing is so many parents are well-intended. They
Mhm.
just don't know how to do it different. And
Yeah.
so, my basic script is I smile a lot and I say, did you have fun today? Or what part of
Yeah.
that was fun? That is the only
Ooh,
question
I
I
love that.
ask.
Yeah. What
Um,
part of that was fun? That's brilliant.
right. Because
Because
then
did
they're
you
like,
have fun can be yes or no. But
mhm,
what part of that opens up a
right.
conversation? Oh, beautiful.
Yes. And so
Love that.
within that, right, then they get to talk about the parts they want to talk about.
Yes.
Right. And if they're like, it wasn't fun, I had no fun today. Well, tell me more. Right.
Yeah.
It opens the gateway without judgment, without criticism, without you should have, you could have,
Yeah.
why didn't you? And so I just want to validate that it's hard to say nothing.
Yeah.
And so if we can just focus on like how was that fun or how was that challenging
Yeah.
for you today? Our kiddos, they're actually really intuitive and they do a good
Yeah.
job talking about what they need to talk
Totally. That's I chew a lot of gum for that reason.
about.
I'm known to carry gumballs in my purse. So, oh my gosh. Okay, well, so we'll land it there. I am so grateful. I'll be tagging you and dropping in the show notes and all of the beautiful things. But thank you so much for this time, the energy and the love that you gave today, and for what you're doing in the world. Yeah, I'm with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me. This has been an honor and a pleasure, and
Oh,
I am so happy to be here with you.
yeah. Thank you so much.